he was the godfather to my nieces, and I was lucky to be there when he passed. And it's hard to talk about still just because it's so new, but
Mike Wolfe spent 15 years convincing America that forgotten things still have value. Turns out, he couldn't apply that same logic to his own life. Behind the barn, fines, and the back road charm, everything he built, personally and professionally, was coming apart at the seams. The question nobody wants to answer is whether any of it was salvageable. So what really brought him down? And is he actually done? Join us as we unravel the shocking downfall of Mike Wolfe, the man behind the myth. Before American Pickers made Mike Wolfe a household name, his life had already handed him enough reasons to quit. Many people know him as the face of the show, but few understand that the show was almost never a thing to begin with. When he was growing up as a poor kid in Bettendorf, Iowa, his father walked out and never returned. His mother raised him alone. Mike has spoken about standing at the window one Christmas, waiting for his dad to show up, only to watch the street go empty. To avoid bullies on the way to and from school, he took the back route, through alleys and backyards, where the only thing waiting for him was other people's trash. That turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to him. He started pulling things out of garbage cans and turning them over in his hands, wondering why anyone would throw them away. When he was 6 years old, he found a discarded bike, cleaned it up, and sold it to another kid for $5. Then he thought to himself, if someone throws out a bike, what else are they throwing out? Mike built his obsession into 2 bike shops in Iowa, and for a while, it looked like bicycles would be the whole story. While he still harbored a love for picking, he was at this point living his dream. Mike was eating, breathing, and sleeping bicycles while having a great deal of personal and professional success in the process, until fate intervened. His life changed suddenly when a devastating fire destroyed one of his bike stores. Even worse, his insurance turned out to be more of a liability than a help. He told Bicycling that even though his bikes were still selling, it wasn't enough, adding that he could never recover financially. Even though the second shop was doing well, he could never get back what he lost. Then eBay arrived and changed the equation again, this time in his favor. Suddenly, there was a marketplace for exactly the kind of objects he'd been pulling out of barns and back roads his whole life. He closed the shops, bought a cargo van, and in 2000 hit the road as a full-time picker. He founded Antique Archaeology out of a former machine shop in LeClaire, Iowa, knocking on strangers' doors and asking to see their barns. He started filming his trips on a mini DV camera propped on the dashboard. He said that his friends and acquaintances always told him his life was so unusual it would make for a good TV show. So, the idea for American Pickers was born with an unexpected inspiration: Anthony Bourdain. After 5 years of pitching this idea to any network that would listen, he finally found a receptive pair of ears in History Channel executive Mary Donahue. American Pickers premiered on January 18, 2010. The premiere alone hit 3.1 million viewers, making it the highest-rated debut on the network since 2007. Alongside him was Frank Fritz, his childhood friend from Iowa, and together they made one of the most quietly watchable shows on cable television. For a man who'd been bullied through alleys, burned out of his own business, and rejected by half the networks in America, it must have felt like the world had finally caught up to what he already knew. It wouldn't stay that way. And the first thing to crack wasn't the show, it was the friendship that made it worth watching. The fracture. Frank Fritz and Mike had a history long before American Pickers existed. They'd known each other since their youth, worked in the same circles, and built careers around the same obsessions. That shared background was a big part of what made the show feel genuine. But by 2020, Frank Fritz's body had started catching up to him. Years of physical work took their toll. His back gave out. Surgery followed. The recovery was quite rough, and the pain led to prescription medication addiction. Then drinking crept back in. He went through rehab, relapsed, and spent long stretches on his own. Mike Wolfe tried to reach him. He spoke with Frank's family and pushed for treatment. But Frank wasn't in a position to hear it. And at a certain point, Mike stepped back. According to him, it was not because he stopped caring, but because there's only so much one can do when someone isn't ready. When season 21 aired, Frank was nowhere in sight. By season 22, Mike's brother, Robbie Wolfe, had filled his spot on the hosting team. Viewers noticed the empty seat and started asking questions that the show wasn't answering. In July 2021, Frank Fritz broke his silence in an interview. He said he and Mike hadn't spoken in 2 years. According to him, he felt like the second guy for most of the show's run, and when things got bad, nobody reached out. He had just completed 77 days in rehab and was trying to get his life back on track. Mike responded publicly, calling Frank his brother and wishing him well. On the surface, it sounded supportive, but Frank didn't see it that way. He called the response ungenuine and said Mike had known about his back problems the entire time and never once picked up the phone. What came out later added more context. Mike acknowledged that Frank's addiction was a major factor in all of it, and that the team had genuinely tried to help before stepping back. For years, the tension hung over the show like a shadow. But in 2022, everything changed, and the feud took a turn no one expected. In July of that year, Frank suffered a massive stroke that left him partially paralyzed and unable to live on his own. He moved into long-term care under a conservatorship. And just like that, all the back and forth in the press over who was right went quiet. It's hard to stay angry about who called whom when someone ends up in a care facility at 58. From that moment, Mike started visiting again. They made peace over Memorial Day weekend in 2023, and at some point, someone joked about Frank coming back to the show. They both let the joke land without pushing it further. Sadly, Frank never truly recovered. He passed away on September 30th, 2024, at 60. Mike was there holding his hand. He later posted a tribute describing Frank as softer than most people assumed. Someone who hid it well but felt things deeply. But while that wound was still open, something else was quietly bleeding out at home. The empire starts to crack. Mike had been with Jodie Feith since the mid-1990s, well before the show and any of the public recognition. They built a life together quietly, welcomed their daughter Charlie in early 2012, and married a few months later. The show's success didn't make things easier at home. Mike was on the road for months at a time while Jodie managed everything else. They'd gone into it as a team, but the longer it ran, the more it felt like two people living separate lives that occasionally overlapped. Then, in 2013, Jodie was diagnosed with stage 2 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. She went through surgery and chemotherapy, kept up her routine as much as she could, and came out the other side in remission. Mike was home when filming allowed it, but filming didn't stop, and the gaps kept widening. The marriage held for several more years after that, but whatever had been quietly wearing down between them never really got repaired. By 2020, they had separated without any public announcement. Jodie filed for divorce that November in Williamson County. She said their differences had become irreconcilable and noted they were unable to successfully live together. She listed June 2020 as the actual separation date. That division of assets was substantial enough to make anyone else go bankrupt. Jody got the Nashville home, the North Carolina property, $5.2 million for her share of the marital estate, $634,000 in alimony, and 40% of Mike's royalties from the first 10 seasons of American Pickers. She also got primary custody of Charlie, plus $2,100 a month in child support. As Mike worked through the changes in his personal life, another chapter was starting. While the divorce was still working its way through the courts, Mike had already started spending time with Leticia Clean by August 2021. They moved in similar circles, both attending the same shows and industry events, so the connection formed without much deliberate effort on either side. She started appearing on American Pickers not long after, bringing a different energy to a show that was going through significant upheaval. Some viewers had questions about the timing. Most just noticed that Leticia fit into Mike's world in a way that looked natural rather than staged. But between 2021 and 2025, the number of losses Mike suffered was enough to make anyone quit. Loss upon loss. In January 2025, Mike looked back on the previous year and called it a mix of heartache and beautiful moments. Losing Frank was the heaviest part of that, by a significant margin. However, grief, it turned out, wasn't finished with him yet. In April 2025, Mike announced the death of JP, a collector who had first appeared on the show in 2017 with his wife Nora. More than a one-episode stop, JP was someone Mike had stayed genuinely close to long after filming Wrapped, the kind of friendship the show quietly built without anyone making a big deal of it. Mike posted a tribute alongside Danielle Colby and Nora. He referred to JP as a dear friend and someone who genuinely lived for the hunt, for the stories behind the objects, more than the objects themselves. The show dedicated an episode to him, filmed by Mike and Nora. It was an unhurried and sincere episode, the kind of content that reminded people why they started watching in the first place. Since the loss came so soon after Frank's death, it carried extra weight. Viewers responded warmly and called the episode one of the standout moments of the season. And before Mike could fully process that loss, another one hit, and this time it was even closer to his heart. Mike shared that his mother, Rita Wolfe, had passed away after a 4-month battle with cancer. He was with her in the hospital when she died, his siblings beside him. What he wrote afterward was honest and deeply personal. He called her the strongest, most beautiful woman he would ever know, and said she was the foundation on which everything else in his life was built. For someone who typically keeps his private life close, it was one of the more unguarded things he shared publicly. Rita was the woman who moved the family from Joliet to Bettendorf after his father left. The woman who gave a 5-year-old boy her garage to store his junk when the front yard got too full. The woman who traveled with the production crew when American Pickers took off, who sat in the green room on talk show visits, and who watched the intro on her son's phone in her final weeks and told him she loved it. "Everything I have become in my life, I owe to her," Mike wrote. "I will look for those little moments when you still find ways to guide us." Rita's death came months after JP's and less than a year and a half after Frank's. 3 people who mattered deeply to him are gone within 24 months. By any reasonable measure, that was enough. But life wasn't keeping score. Pain wasn't done with him yet. By 2025, Mike's relationship with Leticia was well established and quietly progressing. She posted regular photos, small moments from their days, and it felt genuine rather than curated. When Mike turned 61 in November 2025, Leticia wrote that he was her direct line to joy. 4 years in, still choosing each other without making a show of it. What came next, though, neither of them had any way of anticipating. On the evening of September 13th, Mike and Leticia were driving through Columbia, Tennessee in his vintage Porsche 356 when an SUV cut across their lane. There was no time to react. Mike came away with a broken nose, knee trauma, and wrist injuries. Serious. But he was treated and released the same night. Leticia's injuries were far worse. A shattered jaw, broken ribs, a damaged sternum, a collapsed lung, and spinal swelling. She was airlifted to Vanderbilt Medical Center, where surgeons worked through the night with ketamine infusions to manage her pain. The terrifying crash happened late at night. Mike and Leticia were driving a blue vintage car when disaster struck. The front end of the car was crushed beyond recognition, and Mike later posted a photo of the wreckage with the caption saying it had been a rough night, but there was light at the end of the tunnel. He thanked fans for their love and prayers, adding that Leticia remained hospitalized but was expected to make a full recovery. Leticia later shared her own update from the hospital, showing her swollen, bruised face and a neck brace as she lay surrounded by tubes and monitors. She wrote that she hoped to have surgery the following day. Her mouth would be wired shut, she said, but she was grateful that her brain was still intact, which was what mattered most. Throughout her hospital stay, Mike barely left Leticia's side. She shared a tender photo of him sleeping in a chair beside her hospital bed, still holding her hand as she recovered from the trauma. Leticia even revealed the exact spot on the shattered windshield where her jaw had struck, showing the violent force of the impact that caused the multiple fractures. Despite the pain, Leticia had been making remarkable progress. She later posted a photo of herself carefully walking down a hospital corridor with the help of her sister. She wrote that she had managed to get up and walk that day thanks to her sister's help. Although her face remained swollen and her body badly battered, her spirit remained strong. Even while recovering in the hospital, Leticia continued working on city council matters from her bed, insisting that it would take more than a crash to stop her from caring about her community. Her resilience has inspired many fans, while Mike's constant presence at her side showed just how strong their bond truly is. Mike had survived many things, but how much longer could the show survive without the thing that made it great in the first place? Where does Mike Wolfe go from here? After its first showing in 2010, American Pickers ran without a single meaningful break for 15 straight years. New episodes, new seasons, same reliable schedule. One of the most consistent shows on cable television. That streak ended in March 2025 when Mike announced the team was taking 4 to 5 months off to recharge. But when season 27 returned in July, things weren't looking good. The season averaged around 480,000 viewers per episode. This looked impressive until you realize that earlier seasons regularly cleared 1 million views. The gap was too big to ignore. Some fans blamed the bland on-screen chemistry. Others felt the show had simply run its course. Either way, the History Channel renewed it and kept things moving. Then, on Danielle Colby's birthday, she posted a video announcing she'd just learned the show was canceled. The news spread fast, and before long, fans were flooding social media with questions. History Channel immediately stepped in, clarifying that the show was still running. Mike reached out to her privately, and she later posted another video, clarifying the incident. When season 27 resumed, she was there. But for fans already worried about the ratings and the break, Danielle's first video did its damage. Meanwhile, alongside the extended break, Mike was making another decision that longtime fans felt even more personally. He announced he was closing the Nashville location of Antique Archaeology. The shop had been open since 2011. Many fans had come to see it as a physical extension of the show itself, a place where they could buy something Mike had picked himself. It was a way to feel connected to what they watched every week. Mike kept the announcement short. He thanked his supporters briefly and issued an open invitation to come by before the end. After the announcement, he went there in person, shaking hands, taking photos, and spending real time with the people who'd supported the place for 14 years. The doors closed the next day. His reason was simple. He wanted to put more focus back into Iowa, back to the original LeClaire store, where it all started. Many people didn't take it at face value, though. To them, a show that once felt unstoppable, a brand that had expanded steadily for over a decade, was being scaled back. But around that same time, Mike was building something new. In February 2026, History's Greatest Picks with Mike Wolfe launched. It had a different format and moved at a different pace, but with the same man who spent 30 years finding things, now taking the time to explain what they mean. Whether that's reinvention or retreat depends on what comes next. The show hasn't been renewed. The Nashville store is closed. The original partnership that built everything is gone. What remains is the LeClaire Machine Shop, the new project, and a 61-year-old man who has never once learned how to stay down. Was Mike Wolfe the only thing holding the show together? And after everything he's lost, is this really a downfall? Or just the calm before a comeback? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.